Hello everyone, and welcome back again. As now, for the 176th episode, we are going to discuss about Vecna, the secondary antagonist of Stranger Things. One of the most evil and most memorable television villains created recently. Vecna, if it wasn't for the less than great season 5, would have definitely been an iconic villain. But even with everything that happened, I still think the character is great, and I want to give my compliments to Jamie Campbell Bowers, who has done a fantastic job in portraying this character. And in this episode, we're going to discuss all that we know about Vecna throughout the show, to understand him and his journey from a serial killer and orderly patient on Earth to the immortal interdimensional conqueror he became in the Upside Down. And now, let's begin. The one we came to know as Vecna has started out as Henry Creel in Nevada in 1947 to his parents Victor and Virginia Creel and as the younger brother of Alice Creel. And his father Victor was a traumatized World War II veteran with massive PTSD who actually did try to be a good father. And for a while, Harry's life was a bit better, not gonna lie. But eventually, circa around 1955, his whole life changed permanently after he went to a cave in Nevada to find a Soviet spy who tried to shoot him, and he carried a briefcase that contained a stone from the Upside Down. And Harry killed the spy in self-defense and took the stone, resulting in its power, its essence coming into him, and thus gaining him power and granting him powers that allow him to kill the spy using telekinesis. And from here on out, Harry's personality has been completely altered and modified by the Mind Flayer, an evil interdimensional force of pure evil and the ruler of the Upside Down, as he started to corrupt Harry and make him much more evil than he normally would have been. And circa around 1959, he and his family moved to Hawkins, Indiana, when they settled down to start a new life. And there, Harry has discovered that he actually has true pure telekinesis. And he mutilated the animals around their farm. And then he discovered telepathy and he was able to read his family's minds and was able to see everything about them. And as his mother tried to get rid of him by calling Dr. Brenner to take him out, Harry finally snapped and killed his mother and sister and tried to kill his father before he passed out, causing Dr. Brenner to take Harry anyway, and the father was accused of killing his family and was put into a mental asylum, where he remained there for the rest of his life. And at the Hawkins National Lab, Harry has been tortured by Dr. Brenner in order to test and use his abilities. And there he gained the moniker of 1, 001, in the sense that he's the first test subject. And thus, for 20 years, Harry has been locked away in the Hawkins National Lab, and recently he was made to pretend that he is an orderly named Peter Ballard. But as the more test subjects who display similar powers like him came and go, there was one test subject that he came to befriend and grow massive interest in, Jane Hopper, aka Eleven, born in 1971 and raised out there at the Hawkins National Lab, and pretty much she was bullied by her peers her whole life and used by Brenner as a weapon. And Harry has come to befriend her and subtly manipulated her, and by 1979 she took out Harry's inhibitor chip that suppressed his power, and allowed Harry to kill most of the people throughout the facility, including all the other kids and orderlies, except for Eleven that he spared, and for Brenner who actually survived. And there, he introduced his true backstory towards Eleven and the fact that he tried to convince her to join him so they can cause havoc across the world together. But Eleven rejected him and they officially went on to fight, resulting in Eleven defeating Harry and accidentally opening a gate to the Upside Down where Harry got sucked in and thus he ended up into the possession of the Mind Flayer. And here, instead of being attacked or consumed or killed, he in a way kind of befriended the Mind Flayer and even gave it the iconic spider-like shape. And thus, Henry Creel has become Vecna, the servant of the Mind Flayer and overall the second in command of the Upside Down. And now, for years to come, he will try to bridge the gap between Earth and the Upside Down in order for himself and the Mind Flayer to wipe out the human race and remake the world in their image. And by 1983, as the portal has been opened, and Vecna and the Mind Flayer send the Demogorgon to cause havoc and help to open a permanent portal. But Eleven managed to get rid of it. Then by 1984, the Mind Flayer came directly and possessed Will Byers. And Vecna also and gave Will powers in order to eventually use him on the other side. And thankfully, Eleven managed to imprison the Flayer and close the portal. Then by 1985, the main Flayer escaped again and created a physical host from the flesh of his victims, before Eleven and her friends destroyed it. And now by 1986, Vecna himself has come and killed 4 teenagers with trauma in order to open a permanent portal to bridge the gap between Hawkins and the Upside Down, and among them being Maxine, one of Eleven's friends who was put into a coma by Henry. And now, upon meeting with Eleven for the first time in 7 years, he ultimately shared any kind of love or empathy he might have had for her, and ultimately declared her as his arch nemesis and vowed to kill her and her friends to stop her from preventing his plans. And as Vecna succeeded, he fully bridged the gap between Earth and the Upside Down, took over Hawkins, and turned it into an eldritch ruin, leading to the US military putting a lockdown on the town. And now by 1987, he kidnapped a number of children and put them into a telepathic mindscape-style matrix, with himself presenting himself as Mr. What's It, in order to convert them into psychic beings like he did with Will, and to eventually use their power to enhance both himself and the Mind Flayer on a global scale, so he can finally take over the world and exterminate the humanity. And now before continuing to stop and ask, is Vecna evil? And I put this question because while it's an absolutely undeniable fact that what he does is evil, it should be noted few things about him. One, despite everything, Vecna is actually right to some points of view about humanity. Given the fact that we have pretty much poisoned our world, we create systems to put everyone in check, and we pretty much do run on a world made up ruled by made-up rules. But still, Vecna himself proved to be pretty much a hypocrite, as he too is ruled by an evil psychic entity and literally governed by literal made-up rules by it, as he can be killed at any moment if he's no longer useful. As well as the fact that while humanity did corrupt the earth, Vecna and the Mind Flayer both corrupted the Upside Down together and in a much greater extent, and thus proving that while Vecna is indeed right, he too is not a perfect example of his own ideology. Another thing I want to point out is the fact that he might have genuinely loved Eleven, and he actually did try to make her into an apprentice of sorts. But now, as Vecna, he pretty much shred any kind of redeeming qualities towards Eleven right now, and he definitely tried multiple times to kill her, both directly and indirectly. And now, whatever he truly loved her or not, it's unknown, but he absolutely does not care about her. And the final thing that I want to add is the very fact that he does have at the end a tragic backstory, given the fact that the stone that he found in Nevada is the one thing that gave him the power and connected him to the Mind Flayer and made him into a monster, as he himself is completely traumatized by entering into caves and even shown that he actually suffers from some form of PTSD and even openly cries because of the fact that deep down he knows that he is the monster and he was turned into one by the Mind Flayer, and he pretty much dropped the ball on having a happy life with his family or having a family to begin with. And even the girl that he in fact did love, Joyce Byers, Will's mom, ultimately came to hate him, and she ends up the one who kills him. And thus, in the end of the day, the answer is yes. Vecna is evil, and he's close to being pure evil. And while he is definitely tragic, he's still not absolved from his excuses. And in the end of the day, his plans have failed, as Eleven and her friends managed to kill him, and the Mind Flayer's physical form was also destroyed and the children saved. And with this, Vecna fully died at the age of 40, and his plans came to an end once and for all. So in the end, who was Vecna? He was nothing more but a psychopath who simply wanted nothing more but to destroy those that he deemed weak and inferior to him. A monster that, while he is right in criticizing the human race, he himself proves to be an even greater hypocrite, given that he also repeats the same patterns, but not in the exact same way, and to a much greater extent. And a monster that could easily be called as one of the most memorable villains and to ever appear on television. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give like, share and subscribe, and have a nice day.